The Detroit Pistons lose their fourth Summer League game to the New York Knicks, but in this game, Bobi Klintman continues to impress. The Pistons' second-round pick continues to show you why we're going to talk about him in today's episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I'm your host, Kuka Hill. You can find me over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as the playoffs have winded down. The sports stop spoiling like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started today. You'll hear more about FanDuel a little bit later. Later on the podcast, we'll also talk about Ron Holland. As the game started to play out, started to let the game come to him, it started to play a little better as the fourth quarter came around and played really well, I thought, in the fourth quarter. So we'll talk about that. Marcus Sasser, I thought, showed up in this loss against the New York Knicks. We'll talk about what we saw from him. But you know what? The last few podcasts, we've talked about Bobi Klintman, the Detroit Pistons second-round draft pick. But we've made him like the second segment. We've made him the third segment. You know, he hasn't been the top of the top of the chart here. He hasn't been the first thing we talk about. He hasn't been the top of the priority list because he's been their second round pick. So obviously the fifth overall pick in Holland is going to be the headliner, and second year first round pick in Sasser is going to be the headliner. But you know what? I'm done disrespecting Klintman. Bobi Klintman deserves to be the first person we talk about on this podcast. And if you've been listening to the podcast the last few days, despite the fact that he shot 3 of 10, he shot 3 of 10 in this game, and he still should be the first person we talk about in this game, in this podcast from this game. Because like I said in the last few podcasts, there's things that you can take away from Summer League. There are some things that don't translate. There are some things that do translate. There are some things where if like you watch a player and it's like, oh yeah, that doesn't really matter. That's not going to happen in the NBA. Like, don't read too much into it. Like, for example, let's go back a long time. Stanley Johnson, I remember his summer league. He was just out there bullying people. Like, he was just running over everybody on the way to the rim. He was too strong, bigger than everyone on the floor, so they couldn't stop him. In the NBA, though, that wasn't so much the case. He went up against guys just as strong as him, and he struggled to get to the basket. So that's the kind of thing that I'm referencing. I've referenced Bruce Brown from the positive side multiple times in the podcast. We don't need to get into that. But that's why I say that despite the fact that Bobi Klintman shot 3 of 10 in this game, he should be the first person talked about because he is showcasing skills and fundamentals that's going to get him on an NBA floor faster than anyone thinks. He had 9 points, 3 of 10 shooting, but also in this game, he had I just lost it. Okay, here it is. He had 9 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals in this game. He was a +9 in a 1-point loss. Don't worry about the plus minus. I just want to give him a little added bonus. But either way, his passing, his playmaking, his off-ball playmaking is legit going to raise. I saw someone tweet it. I forget who exactly it was. I wanted to give credit, but I completely forgot. But either way, someone I saw that I respect tweeted that his passing is really going to elevate his floor, not his ceiling, but it really should elevate his floor. And I completely agree. Before the draft, when the Pistons, or not before the draft, but right after the Pistons drafted Klintman, there was a lot of talk of, oh, was he just a tell-him pick? Was he even actually someone you like? Do the Pistons even like him as a prospect, or do they just do another tell-him favor? There was talk about that. There was a lot of talk from some scouts that he struggles finishing. Don't know if he's going to be able to play in the NBA. There's a lot of talk about that. And obviously, it's the Summer League. We're not in the NBA yet. But no one, I don't think, saw his passing being at the place it is now. In this game, we watched Bobi Klintman throw a behind the head pass off a live dribble through a behind the head pass. We watched them in transition, my goodness, throw an alley-oop off a live dribble to Ron Holland. We watched him as a ball handler in the pick and roll, throw a cross-court skip corner pass. We watched him from the wing make multiple extra swing passes to the corner instantly without thinking about it, which is a big time. That's a big deal, the timing of it. Guys who get the ball, think about shooting and then pass it. Now the defense can recover. The guy in the corner doesn't get an open shot. When you read it that quick and you instantly swing it, guys in the corner get wide open shots. We watched them do that. We watched them hit dump offs. We have this game against the New York Knicks. We got the entire repertoire of his playmaking ability. And this guy is 6'9". And with the capability of hitting outside shots. He shot 3 of 9 from deep in this game. He was shooting above 41% from deep before this game in Summer League. Look, I get that he's the second-round draft pick for the Detroit Pistons. I understand that he doesn't have the star potential that Ron Holland has, but I'm going to keep it a complete 100 with everybody. I don't know how Bobi Klintman hasn't been the most impressive person, the most impressive player for the Pistons Summer League thus far in Summer League. I don't know how that he's not the most impressive one. And this doesn't mean I think he's going to be better than Ron Holland. This doesn't mean I think he's going to become a superstar. That's not the case. But he has been the most impressive player on the team. He is showcasing the most NBA ready or the most NBA level IQ, processing, playmaking, playing the right way, knowing where to go, knowing where the team's at, his court awareness. A lot of people call it the map awareness. You guys play Call of Duty, you guys know about the map awareness, but it's the same kind of thing. You understand what's going on in the court. You understand what's going on the map. You feel me? Where everyone's at, where you're at, all that stuff. It's popping off the film. Whether he's making shots or not, that stuff is literally popping off the film. And I really wish that this is the kind of time where I wish hockey assists were available, because there's so many passes that he made in this game that are so incredibly impressive that he doesn't get the assist for, because it creates the next pass and creates the next scoring opportunity, all off of his quick decision and his ability to process quickly off ball. Like, I don't know how he is not the most impressive player so far for the Pistons through Summer League. His ceiling isn't a superstar. He's never going to be a star. He's not going to be. But I think he's showcasing that there's real reason to believe that he can be a legit rotation player. And getting that in the second round is big time. Getting that in the second round is big time. That's a really good pick. So I can't wait to see what he looks like in the NBA. I think he's going to get a lot of reps in the G League, which he should. I think Ron Holland also will. But Bobi Klintman, what he's showing me is that he has NBA level IQ. He has NBA level processing. He has NBA level awareness. And again, one of the other things that really impresses me about him, he doesn't try to do things he can't do. That kind of stuff really impresses me. When you are self-aware of what you are as a player and what your future is as a player, it helps you develop so much easier as a player, because you know what to work on. You're not out there trying to develop everything and trying to become the superstar because you believe you can be. No, Bobi Klintman is very self-aware, and he doesn't try to do things he can't do. You don't see him out there trying to ISO guys when he gets the ball on the perimeter. He keeps the ball moving. You don't see him trying to attacking a closeout. If he can't get somebody, he attacks the closeout, takes 1-2 dribbles. If he's not at the rim, he's passing. If he's not, doesn't got a good jump shot off the dribble mid-range or something, a wide open one, he's kicking. He's driving and kicking. He's driving and dumping off. He's driving and throwing up an alley-oop. I can't remember any time really. The only play I can remember that he was out of control a little bit was the behind the head pass, where he recovered quickly and made a good pass. Rarely ever do you see him out of sorts. He's not out of control. He's playing his own tempo, and he's playing the right way. Like, I don't know how there's really, there's things not to like. His finishing is not good at all. But like, these other things are skills that you bank on as an NBA player, especially at his size, with his ability to hit outside shots. That's the key. At his size, with the ability to hit outside shots, you add this part of the game to a player's arsenal. That's a really valuable rotational player. So I think Bobi Klintman deserved to be the first person we talked about in the podcast today. He's been incredibly impressive. I really like what I've seen from him And I think he's been the most impressive player through Summer League for the Detroit Pistons. So let me know in the comment section down below. Do you guys agree, disagree with me? Again, let me know, comment section down below or on Twitter at Kuka Hill. Ron Holland, not an efficient game, but I think for the second straight game, was a little wild to start the game. But as the game got to the fourth quarter, he started to slow down a little bit. The game started to slow down. And I think Ron Holland started to play or closed out the game playing pretty well. I love sports. I've loved them my whole life. I've played them my whole life. I love them so much that I never really want them to stop. But as the playoffs have winded down, we obviously get fewer games. And the sports aren't sporting like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets at any time I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. I've told you guys this many times. A few years ago when betting became legal in Michigan, I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to try out. I went over to FanDuel and I have not turned back since. It's super self-explanatory, super easy to use, and most importantly, super fun to use. So again, head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. That's what FanDuel, the official sports betting partner for Major League Baseball. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on our podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. So the Pistons' 5th overall pick, Ron Holland, he played his 3rd Summer League game. This was the Pistons' 4th one. But he played his 3rd Summer League game. And in this game, he shot 8 of 19 from the floor. Not great. 1 of 5 from deep. Not great. 20 points. Okay. 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 2 blocks. Relatively filled up the box score. But watching the game, I think everyone, if you watch the game, I think everyone probably had the same conclusion. Or was thinking the same thing throughout the game, which was at the beginning of the game, he was a little out of sorts. He's a little, reckless with the ball, a little reckless with his drives. I said a few podcasts ago that he's incredibly relentless going to the basket, but that also can be a bad thing and get you into bad spots. So I think that Ron Holland is clearly showing that he's going to take time to develop and get to where he needs to be and get to that ceiling that the Pistons eventually think he can get to. He's not there yet. It's going to take some time. Excuse me. It's going to take some time. He's going to need to get some reps in the G League. And I know he played in the G League last year, but hopefully the Pistons can put a better situation and environment around him. I know the environment he had last year in the G League wasn't that great. But I don't think you're going to see him play a lot of minutes up at the NBA level right out the gate, because throughout the game, throughout the Summer League and at the beginning of these games, you see that he struggles to keep control of the basketball. Right now, his processing isn't all the way there. There's a lot of times, like I mentioned in the last episode, where he's driving in transition and the defense is collapsing, which is good. And you got a few wide open teammates beyond the arc. You've done your job. Now you just got to make the kick. He doesn't do it and he gets blocked. He got blocked, I think, 3 or 4 times in this game, all for just stuff like that. So I think his overall feel is something that he needs to be improving on. And look, he's 18 years old. Obviously, that's probably going to be something he needs to improve on. Like, I don't think any of this is a shock to the Pistons. I think the Pistons were aware of this. But I think you can clearly see he has to develop his processing, develop his feel for the game, his decision-making, and just not get himself into so many tough situations. With that said, as I said in the last podcast after the last game, as the game started to play out, you got towards the end of the 3rd quarter to the 4th quarter, you started to see that he started to play a little bit more within himself. The game started to slow down a little bit for him, and he started to play, a better brand of basketball, which I like seeing. I like seeing the fact that he's growing as the game goes on. You obviously want to get to a point, and I'm sure he will, but get to a point where that's how it is all game. But the fact that it's not just the same thing the whole game, that I'm seeing like gradual improvement like throughout the game, like I'm seeing it slow down a little bit for him. I'm seeing him start to make better decisions as the game winds on. Gives me reason to believe that he is learning and he is trying to develop. He is trying to get better in these areas. He is trying to, avoid these mistakes. It's not just, you're making the same mistake over and over and over and over again. I think he's trying to evolve from the mistakes that he's making earlier in the game, which I really like seeing. I thought one of the things that happened in the fourth quarter that really helped him out was the Pistons started using him, not just the fourth. It was kind of like late third as well when they started doing it, or mid third quarter. You started to see him get used in a different type of way offensively, where it wasn't just playing him in the corner, and it wasn't asking him to create his own shots. So I feel like the main two ways you've seen Ron Holland in Summer League offensively has been either he's standing in the corner and catch and shooting, or he's creating his own shot, whether that's via transition, grabbing the ball off a glass and then going coast to coast trying to score himself, or within the half court running a pick and roll, going ISO and trying to take a pull-up midi or get all the way to the rim. Self-created looks. Those are the two main, archetypes you've seen from him in offensively, I should say. In the fourth quarter and in the late third, mid-third, you started to see the Pistons use him in a little bit more off-ball action. You started to see him. There was this one play in the fourth quarter that I really liked. Sasser had the ball at the top of the key. Holland was at the right high post, and I think the center's name is Smith. His last name is Smith. The center was at the right block, and he came up as Sasser drove to the right, or maybe it was Jenkins. Either way, the ball handler drove to the right wing, and Holland came up, flashed at the top at the high post, and then the center came and set a back screen, and Holland took the back screen, got a wide open layup, got a wide open dunk. Another play, he backdoored, got himself a wide open layup. Another play in transition, he leaked out. Bobi Klintman found him for an easy bucket. Another one, I think it was Sasser, found him for an easy bucket. So all of these he's being assisted on buckets. He's moving around. He's being involved in the screen game. There was one bucket in the third quarter where he was actually the pick and roller, that he rolled to the basket and he got the ball. So you start to see the Pistons use him in those type of ways where it's not requiring him to process it himself. Like you're not asking him to make the decision, basically. You're not putting the ball in his hands and asking him to make the read here or make the decision here. You're just asking him, okay, be a play finisher, basically. We're going to run the play. We'll have someone else make the decision. Once you get the ball, just finish the play. That's all we need from you. And once they started doing that, he started to play a little better offensively. He started to score a little bit more efficiently offensively. So I think that seems like where he's probably going to be used initially in the NBA. Obviously, they're going to try to grow the other aspects of his game. But I think offensively, if he is going to play NBA minutes, you have to try to get him working that way. Because he's not good enough self-creation right now. He's not a good enough shooter. He doesn't have a tight enough handle. He loses the ball a lot on drives. And right now, as a decision maker with the ball off a live dribble, he's not all the way there yet either. So I think as of right now, you kind of want to cut that out this season. At least what I believe they're going to do. They're probably going to cut out the forcing him to make decisions and making him process and just ask him to be a play finisher. Be good defensively, get active on the glass, and when you get the ball, we're going to try to get you the ball around the rim. We want you backdoor. We're going to try to get you involved in some screening action. We're going to try to get all that stuff involved, obviously get you involved in transition. When we get you the ball, just finish the play, which I think would be smart. I think Jarrett Jack started to do that, obviously, in the Summer League game. I thought that was smart of him. I do think that JB Bickerstaff and I almost said Troy Weaver, my goodness. Trajan Langdon will also realize, and whether they've already realized it, will start to use him that way as well whenever he starts to play minutes this season. I think it's likely that he plays in February. Like he gets that kind of, I saw someone, I think it was my guy Dope, or I forget who exactly it was. I gotta remember the names who tells me this so I can give proper credit. But someone told me that, if he can get on that Cam Whitmore type of develop, that would be great. And Cam Whitmore didn't get rotation minutes until later on in the season. I think that is probably what's going to happen with Holland, is that he's not going to initially start in the rotation, but as the season goes on, maybe around the trade deadline, you start to see him injected into the rotation so to get some minutes. But look, Holland is clearly, he just turned 19 years old. He is, I don't want to say a project. He is a work in progress. He is a high ceiling player. That was why they drafted him. They took another home run swing. He's a high ceiling player, but he has to be developed. He's very, very raw right now. And there's a lot of aspects of his game that he has to develop. So are you seeing those flashes? Yes, you're seeing some flashes here and there of why the Pistons took him. Are you seeing a lot of the flashes of what he needs to work on and how raw he is as a player? Yes. Neither of those things are bad things. It's just recognizing those things. I think the Pistons have. So, yeah, I think offensively, the main takeaway for me is that I hope if he does get minutes at any point in the NBA, they do utilize him as just a play finisher. I do not believe his processing is there yet and his decision-making is there yet with the ball in his hands. So I don't think you really want him in those situations this year, which is why I think they probably will put him in the G League. But, yeah, I thought Holland, he ended the game with 20 points. He played much better as the game went on. They started using him in different ways, and he stopped forcing things as much, which, again, like I said, I like the fact that he's learning and the team's learning as the game goes on, slowing the game down and playing the right way, trying to avoid mistakes. So I like seeing that. I do. So, but that's all I've got on Holland. Let me know what you guys think. You guys saw from him in this game, how you guys feel about what you've seen so far from him throughout the Summer League. Comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. Marcus Sasser has gotten beat up a lot by the fan base, by the community, by this podcast in Summer League so far. But in this game, Marcus Sasser played pretty well. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button, or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. So Marcus Sasser, look, Sasser has gotten, I think, heavily criticized by the fan base during Summer League, by the community during Summer League. He's been criticized a lot by me during the Summer League. Though I think more of my criticism hasn't really been towards Sasser himself. It's been more so towards how they're using him, which is then tied into Sasser, I guess. But he had a good game against the New York Knicks in this game. He shot 6 of 14 from the field, 1 of 5 from deep. Not the greatest shooting percentages, but he ended up with 24 points because he did get to the free throw line 13 times. He made 11 of 13 free throws, which that's part of the game. Ended with 24 points. He had 5 assists, 4 turnovers. Look, Sasser, I think Sasser is very just self-explanatory. Like, it's very clear. Like, each game you're going to have the same takeaway with Sasser. Like, after this game, my takeaway of Sasser has not changed from first game, second game, third game from him as an overall player. Like, obviously, in the first and second game when he was shooting horrifically and he wasn't really dominating the competition as a second-year player, yeah, that's a little concerning that he's not able to dominate as a 23-year-old second-year player in the Summer League. I do think that's a little bit concerning that he's not, like, just asserting himself as a player. I still think it's maybe just a little bit concerning. I don't know how it isn't. But more so, I think that it's the same story with Sasser. It's that everyone knows he can shoot the basketball. If Sasser shot 28% from three in Summer League, that doesn't change how I feel about him as a three-point shooter. I know he can shoot the ball. Sasser can shoot the ball. I know Sasser can create a lot of space when given the opportunity to just be a scorer. Like, we saw that all last season. He can create space. He is a good shot creator. He has a good floater. The floater hasn't been falling for him in Summer League, but we have all throughout last season, we watched him nail those floaters. Him missing those shots is not going to change anything for me in Summer League. I know the type of player Sasser is. I think everyone knows the type of player Sasser is, which is why it's so frustrating to see them continue to play him as a point guard. It's the same takeaway. When Sasser is in score mode and you allow him to go score, he's going to look good because he can score the basketball. When you ask him to just go out there and shoot the ball, when you ask him to go out there and just create and be your own offense, he can do that. Because he's a good scorer. He is a good shot creator. At his size, he is an incredibly good shot creator. He knows how to draw free throws. He knows how to hunt out contact. He knows how to sell contact. He can hit threes. He can hit free throws. He knows how to create space off the bounce. His handle is nasty when it comes to creating space for a shot. Now, his handle when it comes to, like, navigating pick and rolls and trying to run the show is not very good. You saw him get ripped up twice before half court in this game. So that isn't great, but when it comes to, like, just breaking down the defender trying to score, his handle is really nice. has a little yin-yang to it. That's what I call it. Just yanks players around. So Sasser as a shot creator is good. Everyone knows this. And you saw that in the Knicks game. Did I watch this game and think, oh my God, Sasser's a point guard now? No. I have the same takeaway on Sasser. It's just a matter of, is he hitting his shots or not, really? Like, that's all that matters. That's the only difference between this game and the first 2 games where he couldn't make a shot. It's just he wasn't hitting them. But if he was hitting them, you'd have the exact same takeaway. This guy can be a good scorer. This guy can shoot the ball. He's not a point guard. Like, it's the same takeaway over and over. He's not your point guard. He's not somebody that can run an offense. He doesn't process the game very well off a live dribble. He doesn't process it very well as a playmaker. He's not a very good passer. But what he is a really good spark plug who can score the basketball quick. He is someone who can come in as like a J.R. Smith type of role and just score the basketball. That's what Marcus Sasser is. So it was cool to see him play this well. It was cool to see him draw this many free throws. But again, I know he can do that. Everyone knows he can do that. So, like, I'm happy that he's hitting his shot. He wasn't even hitting his threes for real. It was more so he was being really aggressive and getting to the free throw line, which, again, that's still good. I like to see that. I just don't – the thing with Sasser, I feel like he's just in a tough position because everyone already knows what he is. So it's like no matter what he does in Summer League, the conversation around him really isn't going to change. Like, I feel like he's in a tough spot with that, where you're just really looking to see him hit shots and score. And when he doesn't do that, it's like, okay, well, if you're not doing that well, so can you do? And then he just ends up at the bad end of the joke, basically. He's in a tough position because they're trying to. They've already said numerous occasions, and he said it that they're using him as a floor general. They're really trying to make him learn that part of his game. Why? He's 23. He's like, this isn't like an 18-year-old rookie or second-year player, 19, 20 years old. Sasser is who he is. Like, this is the player he is. It's not a point guard. I mean, it's just tough to like. That's just going to be the conversation with them over and over. But yeah, if anyone if you didn't watch Sasser last year, I mean, this is the player he is. He's a scorer. He can score. He's a really good scorer. Very talented scorer. Very talented one-on-one basketball player. It's hard to stay in front of him. It's hard to guard him without fouling. He's a really talented scorer. Really talented scorer. And on the right team in the NBA, I 100% believe he can be a spark plug off the bench that is just asked to score the basketball. I 100% believe that. But he has to be put in that role and allowed to develop in that role and exceed in that role. That's my only concern with all this, is that they're looking at trying to make him something else. And he's just clearly not. So, that's my Sasser takeaway. He played well in this game. But I expect him to do this. Like, I know he can do this. I never question whether Sasser could do this or not. So, but just let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter @KukaHill what your guys' takeaway is on Marcus Sasser's play, how you guys feel about him as a player. Let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter @KukaHill. That's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. Free and available on all your podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel. Leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. And until next time, I will see you guys later. Stay safe out there. Till next time, peace out.